Joining me now from Edinburgh, where protesters are expected to gather later, is GBNews' political reporter Olivia Utley. Olivia, thank you very much. Nicola Sturgeon's independence dream, sadly, just lying in tatters.
Well, I think many unionists would very much like that to be the case, but I'm not sure that that is entirely true. There were three possible outcomes of the Supreme Court judgment today. One was a win for the UK government, which is what happened. Another was a win for the Scottish government. And another was the case being thrown out altogether. Now, that third outcome is actually the outcome that the UK government wanted, because the problem with them winning this Supreme Court ruling is that Nicola Sturgeon can now argue, and she has already done so, that Westminster essentially has Scottish democracy in a stranglehold, and Westminster has placed this deliberate constitutional roadblock in place of a referendum and is, she says, denying the Scottish people a say. So what that means is she talks about an imperfect route to a second independence referendum, and how she's going to wangle that is by essentially making the general election in a couple of years' time a de facto referendum, she calls it, on Scottish independence. So essentially, she will say, if you vote for the SNP in this election, all you are voting for is a vote for independence. Now, of course, unionist politicians, I've spoken to quite a few of them today, say that that's going to be very, very difficult for her. Scotland is facing a lot of domestic issues, from the ferries issue, the NHS is in a mess, schools are struggling in some places, and they think that it won't be possible for Nicola Sturgeon to turn the general election into a one-issue election on independence. But that is what she's planning to do. Either way, it feels like today's decision has made the stakes quite a lot higher. The general election now in 2 years' time will be this de facto referendum on Scottish independence. And if Nicola Sturgeon loses it, it does feel like it probably will be the end of her long career, and perhaps will, for the time being at least, bury the issue of Scottish independence. But if she wins it, it's going to be harder and harder for the UK government to refuse that Scottish independence referendum that she wants.